Richard took the shot glass out of Robert's hand and threw it out the window.
Spielberg, I find quite confused in his recollection of me.
You eat and you drink and you're fat and you're sloppy. Your age, it's criminal.
Steven Spielberg has made over $10.1 billion at the global box office. So yeah, when you're commanding that kind of power, you're not here to babysit actors who show up to set, thinking they're God's gift to cinema. Spielberg definitely had his limits, and 5 very famous people learned that the hard way. And we start with none other than Julia Roberts, aka Tinkerbell from Hook, aka the one who left Peter Pan fans more confused than enchanted. Back in 1991, Roberts was riding high off the Pretty Woman wave. She could do no wrong until Spielberg hired her to play Tinkerbell in his mega-budget $70 million Peter Pan movie. What could go wrong, right? Literally everything.
I never had moments, trouble, sorrow, reflection, anything on the set of Hook. There's no doubt in my mind.
First of all, Hook was already a beast of a production. Big cast, big effects, and at the center of it was Roberts, who, surprise, had zero experience working with green screens and CGI. Remember, this was early 90s. It wasn't like today where everyone and their cousin's TikTok has special effects. It was brand new, and Spielberg needed her to adapt. She didn't. In fact, he was reportedly blindsided by how not ready she was for that kind of role. And here's where it turns into a gossip buffet. She started clashing with everyone. Costume fittings, drama, camera blocking, more drama. The crew literally nicknamed her Tinkerhell. That's not a joke. That's not a meme. That's what people working 16-hour days in hot lights and fairy wings started calling her behind her back. And probably not just behind her back either. Now, Spielberg's not the kind of guy to publicly drag someone through the mud, but even he couldn't sugarcoat this one. He gave the most Spielberg-y version of "I'm never working with her again" by saying, "It was an unfortunate time for us to be working together." That's Hollywood speak for "get her out of my life and off my set permanently." And guess what? He never cast her again, not even for a cameo, not even for a voiceover in a cartoon about hamsters. Gone. Roberts, to be fair, did try to clear the air later on. She said she was going through a tough time personally and felt unsupported. But here's the thing. That just proves the point. There was zero emotional rapport between them. Like, if Spielberg was a phone, Julia Roberts was straight up out of network. No signal, no empathy, no connection. Just 2 people stuck in the same film with wildly different expectations. And it showed. Now, if you think that story was chaotic, let me just slide you into the second level of Spielberg rage. We're going back to 1974. Spielberg's making Jaws, the shark movie that invented the summer blockbuster. Released in 1975, made $476 million worldwide, changed Hollywood forever, and nearly gave Spielberg a permanent stress ulcer. The actor playing Quint, the grizzled shark hunter, that was Robert Shaw. Great actor, fantastic screen presence. But behind the scenes, he was a whole tornado of problems wrapped in a British accent and a whiskey bottle. This man waged psychological warfare on his co-star Richard Dreyfuss like it was his side gig.
Robert would basically humiliate Richard into taking a chance. For instance, Robert would say, "I'll give you $100 if you climb to the top of the mast on the Orca and jump off into the water."
Shaw constantly mocked Dreyfuss, who was a lot younger and less experienced at the time. He would taunt him on set, call him too green, and basically do everything short of throwing him overboard. At one point, get this, he dared Dreyfuss to jump from a mast into shark-infested water. Like actual water, with actual sharks, just to prove a point. Spielberg had to step in before someone literally died on set. Imagine being that director, trying to shoot a scene while your actor's trying to murder your other actor with sea monsters. Now Shaw's other favorite hobby on set? Drinking. Like, not a casual glass of wine at lunch kind of drinking. We're talking full-on alcohol-fueled chaos. Combine that with Bruce, the mechanical shark that refused to work properly, and you've got a production that was delayed by weeks. Not days, weeks. And the cost? Over $3 million in overages. Because nothing says fun summer blockbuster, like blown budgets and crew members quietly planning their resignations. But here's the wild twist. Shaw was still incredible on camera. His USS Indianapolis monologue? One take. That's right, one take. Pure cinema gold. And yet Spielberg later admitted that Shaw's behavior turned the set into a psychological war zone, not just for Dreyfuss, but for him too. So, yeah, the audience saw a perfect shark thriller. Spielberg saw trauma. Expensive, exhausting trauma. Now let's talk about the most awkward feud in Hollywood history, because this one didn't even involve a film set. It was political, personal, and honestly, a little iconic. So rewind to the early 2000s. Spielberg decides to take a highly publicized little trip to Cuba. You know, nothing wild, just a casual sit-down with Fidel Castro. Yep, that Fidel Castro, the dictator. As part of a cultural outreach effort. That's what they called it. Hollywood diplomacy, Spielberg style. Well, guess who didn't find that cute? Robert Duvall. The man is allergic to communism, like fully repulsed. And when he saw Spielberg, the so-called defender of American ideals in Saving Private Ryan, suddenly buddying up to a communist dictator, he completely lost it. Duvall went full scorched earth mode in interviews. How can someone who makes movies about freedom and democracy sit with a dictator? He said. Direct quote. He didn't even bother sugarcoating it. No PR filters, no subtle jabs, just a full-on verbal grenade. And Duvall didn't stop at opinions. He took action. He made it very, very clear that he would never, under any circumstances, work with Spielberg or DreamWorks. That's right, he boycotted the guy without ever having to step on one of his sets. That's a whole different level of hate. Most actors wait to be traumatized by a director during the shoot. Duvall said, "Nah, I don't even need to meet him. I already know it's a no from me." And it wasn't about creative clashes. There was no disagreement about character arcs or lighting. This was all about ideology. Duvall didn't care how many Oscars Spielberg had. This was principle over profit. He could have cashed a DreamWorks check like the rest of them, but nope, he chose the hill and died on it proudly. Spielberg felt personally betrayed by someone he had never even worked with. Now here's the part where things get deliciously passive-aggressive. Spielberg didn't say a word back. No statements, no Twitter threads, no press conference. But insiders? They talk. And apparently Spielberg was not thrilled about the public attack. According to those in the know, Spielberg quietly made sure Duvall's name got blacklisted from anything Amblin or DreamWorks related. No cameos, no invites, no second chances. It's like two powerful men decided to end each other's existence using total silence. Hollywood Cold War. And no, they've never worked together. Not even accidentally. No reunion specials, no charity events, nothing. Spielberg and Duvall are on opposite ends of a Hollywood battlefield, one that started with a handshake in Havana and ended with a career-long exile. And just when you thought it couldn't get any messier, enter Shia LaBeouf. Spielberg must have thought this kid was his new golden boy. He cast him in Indiana Jones and The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008. And let's be real, the movie made money. Like $790 million at the global box office kind of money. So, from a business angle, win. But no, LaBeouf had thoughts. Too many thoughts. And he didn't keep them to himself. In interviews, red carpets, press tours, he trashed the movie. Trashed Spielberg. Said he and Spielberg dropped the ball and made it sound like the franchise died on their watch. The audacity. Spielberg has one major rule. Don't insult the project while it's still making money. Like bare minimum, wait until it's out of theaters before you start throwing tomatoes. But Shia couldn't help himself. He basically walked into a room full of people who bought tickets and said, "Yeah, sorry guys, we knew it was bad." Spielberg, furious, not just disappointed furious, and not in a screaming, flipping tables kind of way. Spielberg has his own revenge style. Quiet, deadly, clinical. He cut Shia off completely. Deleted him from the future. No more meetings. No more roles. Shia was officially blacklisted from the Amblin family. Spielberg said, never insult a film while it's still making money. He saw himself as a mentor. Shia? He saw him as a director who didn't have the guts to say no to a bad script. Either way, the relationship flatlined permanently. And honestly, that's Spielberg's pattern, isn't it? You mess with his movie, his vision, or his values, and it's over. Doesn't matter how big your name is. Duvall had the politics, LaBeouf had the mouth, and Spielberg had the power to make sure neither of them ever made it onto his credits list again. So, between the guy who preemptively hated Spielberg for talking to a dictator and the actor who post-filming decided to drag him through the mud, it's clear Spielberg doesn't just hold grudges. He frames them. He alphabetizes them. He files them away like archived scripts, never to be reopened. And let's be honest, the man has worked with hundreds of actors. He's directed over 33 films. He's got 3 Oscars. His phone book probably weighs more than Shia's entire IMDb resume. So when someone burns that bridge, they don't just lose a director, they lose a Hollywood institution. It's like torching your only ladder up and then wondering why you're stuck on the ground. You know who almost became Indiana Jones before Harrison Ford put on the fedora and became a legend? Tom freaking Selleck. Yep, mustache and all. Back in the early 80s, Spielberg and George Lucas were all set to make Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Selleck was their guy. He even signed the contract. The Dream Team thought they had their whip-cracking hero locked in until Magnum PY came knocking. Turns out Selleck's TV deal had claws. Just when Spielberg thought cameras were about to roll, Selleck bailed. TV obligations, scheduling conflicts, whatever excuse he gave, Spielberg didn't buy it. The man felt ditched at the altar. Promo materials were already rolling, and Spielberg was left scrambling, asking, "So, anyone got Harrison Ford's number?" And while Ford crushed it, Spielberg reportedly never forgave Selleck for ghosting what could have been his breakout film moment. No cameos, no second chances. Selleck has never appeared in a Spielberg movie, not even as a dad, or a villain, or a background camel. Nothing. According to insiders, Spielberg referred to it as the betrayal that launched a franchise, which is iconic, but also probably said through gritted teeth. And that, guys, is how one mustache ruined a movie bromance forever. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell before Spielberg blacklists you next.